Equanimity. What is it? Well, it's another way of saying balance. And in Christ consciousness, it is specifically the balance between the natural world and the divine world, the human experience and the spirit experience, the inner world and the outer world. In Buddhism, it would be known as the middle path. And so equanimity is all about striking balance in life, which nature always wants to seek this homeostasis. It always wants to feel this balance. And just like water finds level ground, we as human beings will always find a balance in some ways. And a lot of the times we think in life it's about happiness, success, joy, satisfaction, and a lot of these positive qualities, which are great. But sometimes that means we dismiss some of the negative or darker experiences when in reality our pain, our suffering, the challenges and the struggles that we go through are oftentimes our greatest teachers. But as men, yes, we are providers and protectors. We are strong. And that's a beautiful thing, that we have that strength and provisioning to build and innovate. But it doesn't discount the fact that as human beings, we have a full spectrum of emotions. And we only focus on the strengths, the joy, the happiness, the innovation. And we don't spend time to recognize the parts of our humanity that are just as real, just as natural, and just as normal. Things such as suffering, loss, grief, sadness, fear. If we don't leave space for that in our lives, we will be out of balance. And if we are out of balance, life has a funny way of teaching us that we need to get back into balance. And that's what suffering is. That's what pain is. Pain is life's way of teaching us that something is out of balance. It's our indicator, if you will. Think of it as like a gauge in a car. When your oil is low or your temperature is running too hot, that signals to us that we need to do something. We need to fix it or it's not going to operate smoothly. And similarly, if we notice pain, if we notice suffering, it's a sign, it's a signal, it's a gauge on the dashboard of life to let us know that we're out of balance and we need to get back into balance. And oftentimes, as men, we're not taught to do that. We're taught to hide our pain, to repress it and suppress it, or pour some booze on it, or suck it up, be a man, don't be a wuss. And unfortunately, that is terrible advice, because all it does is diminish the capacity and the potential of men, because we are so much more than just this stereotypical idea of what society tells us we should be. Now, if we stick to that stereotypical version of what life expects or society expects, we're accepted, we belong, we are included. But if we don't, we can oftentimes be castigated or shunned or ostracized for not going with the program or getting on board. And unfortunately, oh shit, my dog just went chasing after some deer. Callie! Anyway. So, if we just do what society tells us to do, and we act in accordance with what we think society expects of us, we'll never truly discover that equanimity. We'll never truly connect with that middle path, that Christ consciousness, that balance within us that allows us to tap into this inner world that is rich with so much to learn about who we are and our divine nature. It's unfortunate because as men, it's our responsibility to teach other men, to teach the younger generation, the next generation about what it means to be a man. And that's often a question that people have, like, what is masculinity? What's the definition of masculinity? And in a lot of ways, there is no definition. There's no static definition of masculinity. If you are a man and you are alive, you are part of the makeup of masculinity. Think of it as a cell in a body. Every cell comprises the collective, the full spectrum of that being. And so masculinity is comprised of all the individual cells, you being one of them, me being one of them. So it doesn't belong to any one definition. It essentially belongs to everybody, or it belongs to no one. It belongs to us to co-create it and bring it into life. And if you get to the point where you realize that society has convinced us that we are to forfeit and give up our sense of sovereignty and individuality to become part of the collective, that can be beneficial to common objectives, but it doesn't honor the unique nature of the individual. And in a lot of ways, the collective can accomplish things. Like we can get together and gather around and hunt and build together, but it also requires the unique individuality, the innovation, the talents, the gifts, the creative expression of the individual are the only things that have ever innovated. So if you think about all the innovation that's ever been brought into this world, it's always come as a result of someone who strayed away from the pack and dared to be their own unique selves, that dared to bring that divine, unique nature into the world. And that's not an easy thing to do in a world that is constantly trying to make you into something. So, why am I saying this? Well, a lot of the times the people that we think have our best interest in mind, our parents, which they often do, like the only people that are going to love us unconditionally, they'll tell us to do things and become things and aspire toward things because they do love us and they want us to be happy. And we find happiness and satisfaction in belonging as a sense of community and being included and having healthy connections. But that's just one side of it. The other side of it is to recognize that there's another part of us that is not involved in the collective, that is not involved in forfeiting our individuality, but it's one in which involves reclaiming our sovereignty and daring to step outside of the paradigm of society's expectations and to dare to be your own person and to dare to share that uniqueness with the world. Your gifts, your talents, your creative expression, your inventions, your ideas, just the way that you communicate. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be a new style of painting or a brand new invention or a cure for a disease. It can be in the way that you are a good friend. It can be in the way that you choose to live your life being authentic, daring to share your unique expression with the world in a multitude of forms. And if you don't know what that is for you, well, I think part of our life purpose is to explore that, to explore what it means to be yourself, to bring your uniqueness into the world. And a lot of the times we're completely unaware of this because no one's ever taught us that. No one has ever taught us that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be a unique individual. So I wonder how many times there are people out there in the world that have amazing and wonderful talents. A young man that grows up and joins the service or becomes a police officer or a firefighter like I did, to try to prove to himself and the people whose opinions he values, the society and community he comes from, he wants to prove that he's man enough and brave enough to do the job and to sacrifice himself and put himself in harm's way to serve the common good of his fellow man. And it's noble and beautiful. But how many of those soldiers or cops or firemen or factory workers would have been a great poet, a great painter, a great artist, a great songwriter, a great inventor? How many talents have been stifled and shut down by the expectations that others have for us? And there's no real answer to that. There's no way to quantify the talent and the innovation that has been lost and sacrificed by people who just conform to the expectations of others, because the drive to belong is so strong that we're oftentimes willing to ignore the pangs inside of us of self-expression, of allowing our true essence to come through, because it's so scary to think that we might not be accepted, we might not be loved, we might not be valued, or we might be made fun of, or we might not be accepted. We might not feel a sense of belonging if we don't just go with the program and get on board. And so where equanimity is concerned is recognizing that this Christ consciousness, or the middle path, is the opportunity to go inward, listen to that voice inside, to explore this inner world in which we all have something to offer. We're all unique in our own way, and the Creator created us with these unique individual characteristics, these traits, these gifts. And if we listen to the inner world and let the noise of the outer world go down, and spending time in nature is a great way to do that, spending time alone even, journaling, meditating, praying. If you go inside, you might begin to listen to the sounds of your own inner voice, your own inner heart, that Christ consciousness, that middle path, that divine nature, if you will. And listen to it. It might tell you simple things like, it's okay to lighten up. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to be more loving and affectionate. It's okay to dance. It's okay to sing. I just started, I'm going to be 50 later this year, and I just started recently playing guitar and performing music out live, and we sing a bunch of like acoustic cover songs and stuff, and it's fun, and we play local bars in Brooklyn and upstate New York, but it's new for me. I've never done it before because I never had anybody tell me, hey, you're pretty good, or hey, I like hearing you sing, or hey, it brings me joy. And to go into a room with a guitar and a friend of mine and play some songs and have people clap and sing along and raise the vibration in that bar room is really a gift. It really is a beautiful gift to be able to share with other people. And I'm so grateful that I realized that. And so now as I approach 50 and get into the realm of midlife, there's a part of me that recognizes that I wish I would have listened to this inner voice earlier. But life doesn't work that way. We kind of have to go through the first part of life to become what life expects us, or to become what society expects us. And it's only sometimes through these signals of suffering that we begin to realize that maybe something's out of balance. And maybe it's time to listen to that inner voice. So if you've been feeling those pangs, if you've been feeling this inner call to explore who you are on a deeper level, listen to it. Maybe pick up that paintbrush and put some oil paint on canvas, or maybe pick up that guitar, or maybe just call up an old friend and goof off about things you did when you were kids, when we were in our more natural and primal state, when we were more balanced before society got its claws into us and kind of told us what to be. And in that way, it's a beautiful way. When you can embody the truest expression of what the Creator gave you as a unique individual, it's a way to say thank you and celebrate the divine gifts we've been given. And to ignore these gifts is kind of like a sin, because if God or the source or the Creator gave us these unique gifts, to deny them and to forfeit them and give them up is to sin, to not celebrate the gifts we've been given. And so consider the possibility that some of the suffering and pain you're going through, maybe some of the loss you're experiencing, maybe some of the changes in life you didn't expect, maybe you had a breakup or a marriage, or you lost your job, or you got a health diagnosis or something, and you're suffering. See that suffering as a sign and an opportunity to tap into this inner world and ask yourself, what do you want to bring into this world? Not what society expects, but what is your unique gift to give to the world? In a really simple way. Again, it can just be about being a good person. That's enough. And when we let that be enough, when we simply allow ourselves to be naturally who we are, when we take off the masks and the armor, pretending to be tough and strong and stoic all the time, and we allow ourselves to simply be human beings and celebrate our uniqueness by allowing our creative self-expression to flow. And when we recognize it in other people, appreciating it and honoring it and accepting it, we can connect more deeply with ourselves and each other. And ultimately, that's what everybody's kind of looking for, is to feel more deeply connected. But it's not always about feeling connected to the expectations of others. It can be about feeling connected to yourself. And if you've never been taught to do this, this might sound like it's new, but hey, you know what? Sometimes you have to die and be reborn. Sometimes we have to let go of what we thought our lives were supposed to be like, so we can open up space in our hearts to become what we're meant to be. And so, if you're going through a tough time, you're not alone. And just remember, that pain can be a great teacher. And as you learn these lessons, and as you dare to be brave enough to open yourself up to become who you're meant to become, share those gifts with the world. And as you learn to deepen this love and connection with yourself, and share that love and connection with others. And as you learn to accept yourself and have compassion and grace and patience and understanding with yourself, forgiveness for yourself, you then get to share all of that with others. You get to share that forgiveness, compassion, and love with your fellow brothers and sisters. And I think that's what we're here for. First, to become and belong, but then to discover who we truly are and to share that gift with the world. So, I'm looking forward to hearing how you're discovering your inner gifts and how you're choosing to rediscover who you are and share that gift with the world.